Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Getting Started on Azure Container Apps for .NET developers. My name is Matt, and I'm joined by a new acquaintance today, Frank.
I'm Frank. Yay.
So, Frank, you know what I hate more than anything else in the world?
I don't know.
Wasting money. Wasting money. And one of the things that Azure Container Apps helps us do is actually optimize all our costs that we do when we're spending money. Because Container Apps can scale all the way to zero, right? Like we can shut everything off, which is a
Yes,
great thing. Maybe
it is a
we
great
don't.
thing. Yep. It
Or
could
maybe
be depending on like the scenario of your application, obviously.
exactly. Or maybe we don't want to do that. So in this chapter, this episode, you are going to show us how to optimize everything, or at least know how to where to start to optimize. So
Yep.
we aren't just throwing money out the window, so to speak.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. The goal of this episode, I thought the chapter was really more because it's a self discovery. Like it's a thing often when I was speaking with clients, it's a thing that you don't turn it on and like, okay, I'm good. You could leave. Like you're monitoring and you need to like care for a while. And like all apps have up and down depending on the season. Maybe like there's spikes during like the holidays, or maybe it's summer, or like
Mhm.
so you need to monitor, see like how your cost is going, because like you pay for what you use in Azure. So like you still need to do that a little bit. So the goal today is really to kind of like show you where to look, what to look, and then maybe like we'll change a few settings. So like you could automate, have some automation there, and
Mhm.
also like maybe set up a budget so you could
Cool.
receive alerts, because nobody want to get at the end. I think a lot of people are scared. Like at the end of the month, they will receive a bill and was like, oh, I need to sell the house. So you could set a budget with like the limit you're comfortable with, and then receive email notification. So
Cool.
want to show that today. That's the kind of like the plan.
Great. Well, let's get right into it.
Cool. So already clone the repo. I am in the chapter 6 for cost optimization, and I won't read all of it for you, but
Mm,
like I think what's important to understand when we are looking for optimization is just like making the reflection: am I using the good service? So here I explain a little bit. We cover it a little bit in like the first video, the first chapter,
yeah.
where we are talking about different services where we can host our container. So
Mhm.
it's still relevant because maybe container apps, Azure Container Apps, is not the good service for this particular app. It is a good service, but maybe not in your context. So you need to,
Right.
think about it. And so that's why I put it back here to say, hey, like, you know, m- make a reflection. Like if it's
Yeah.
just like I'm crunching that data and I don't need it anymore, maybe you're better with a container instance.
Yeah.
But if it's just an API that could scale up, scale down to zero, maybe because nobody around is using it during nighttime because it's a local app or something like that, then container apps is definitely a good app. So
Mhm.
it's important to understand like what's your scenario. And
Yeah,
then, yep.
yeah, you brought up a good point just before too. Is like every app is evolving over time. So what might be today on that app, exact same app might not be the same 6 months from now.
Yep.
So
Yep.
this is a good way. I mean, you should like set across, some time every now and then to at least take some time to reflect on it and what it means and where it should live, and at least go through some of the exercises that you're about to show us.
Yep. So understanding the costs, how the costs work in Azure, and like I put only two links for documentation: the container apps, like the billing, to understand like what are the matrix that make that needle move and stuff like that. So it goes into the details there, and the Azure apps pricing, same thing, where you can make some estimation. It's high level, but like it's often give us a good idea of like
Mhm.
what to expect at the end of the month. You could stop, you could change many things before the end of the month, but it could give you an idea of like, before I go, like am I going in the correct direction? Am I ready for that?
Right. Do I need to call the realtor to sell my house?
Exactly. But, and after that, like, it's going with different matrix because the price is not fixed. It's not like, hey, I don't know, like, X dollar by hour. It's
Right.
not it's not working like that, depending on transaction and stuff like that. So it's easy to get lost. So it
Yes.
is better explained there. I don't want to read because you say you don't want to waste money. I think listening to me reading in English, I don't think it's a good good option here. But the amount of data out of transit, so the call, the CPU and memory, so like the resources allocated are good factor, good matrix to look at. And
Mhm.
also you have the replica because we since the beginning we're talking about scaling. So one way you could scale your app is by having it's the container, right? So like that's
Mhm.
the beauty of it. So you could say, you know what, like instead of having one, have five side by side to respond to the demand.
Yep. And that's cool
But
because it's a container and everything's inside of that. It's super easy. Just pop a new one up, and it's the same thing then. So.
exactly. You don't you like containers, that's the beauty of it. Like you shouldn't care about like after that when you're done, just kind of like throw it away.
Mhm.
So you could scale up, scale down. So you could do that. So one way to do that, you could totally go in the portal and change it. I will show you after once we do it here. You could totally do it in directly in the portal. So if you need a quick action, it's possible to do there. But if you do that, then every time you will be deploying using infrastructure as code, the biceps file, then this will be overridden. So you're better doing it in the biceps file.
Gotcha.
So
Plus,
that's what we do in this demo
yeah.
right now.
And plus, it's always your bicep file then gets put in a source control, and it's kind of managed in that respect. So yeah, it's you can go into the portal and do it, and which is nice for demos. But the
Yeah,
bicep is probably the right way to do it.
yeah. So one thing we can change is I was talking about scaling. So it's the min and the max, as you can see here. Like we're just changing, and the way it's called, it's like in the biceps in the property of our container. And since like you so you will have to do that. I say you would, but in fact is it's nice to have to do that for each container individually because maybe the front end you always want the front end at least to have one, and then the API could turn to zero.
Uh-huh.
So at least like someone go there, like it's a local app, so nobody should go order pizza because it's closed past 10.
Yeah.
But still, if people want to go on the website and stuff like that, they can. So like they will
Yep.
be able to see the front end, but then like if they try to order, then maybe it's blocked. Maybe it will take longer just to wake up, like a few seconds to wake up that API background.
Business is closed. Let's give them a 404. I like that, Frank.
Yeah, yeah. If you scale it down, well,
Yeah.
if you scale, it will never be a like when you scale it down. That's also like, it's a good point. When you
Yeah.
scale it to zero, it won't be a 4-4, but it will look like you have a really really bad internet.
Hmm.
You know, just like back when we had like the modem on the phone line.
Uh huh. Except you don't get the cool sound effect.
Yeah, you don't have that cool
Right?
sound effect.
And that's because it's starting up. I mean, it's literally just start. It's like hitting the power button on the computer at that point because you're starting it up, a cold
Yeah.
start, so to
So
speak.
yeah, so scaling to zero, you won't have a 4-4, but it will take a few seconds. So that's why you may not want to put everything to zero, or maybe you won't, like depending on again scenario,
Mhm.
but like you could. So I want to show you how you could do that. So it's in the app, the resource bicep. So I have it here open, and what you look, I mentioned it was scale. You could always also search it if it's not present. And then you could change it. So by default, it's 10, 1 and 10. That's when you use AZD for initialization. It will create by default 1 and 10. So
Mhm.
we could change it and say, you know what, I want 5. And here I am in the star info. Star info, I could decide, you know what, like that's an API. I'm okay having it going to zero.
Mhm.
That's totally fine. And one thing also we could, let me put it bigger, like just going a little bit down here, I see here the CPU and the memory. You could also, like, that's pretty small already, honestly.
Uh-huh.
I put it small because it was a demo. We're still,
Yeah.
conscient of the data, or like the money we're spending for those demos. So we didn't put big numbers, but it could have been like 5 gig of memory and like 5 CPUs or something like that. It could have
Yep.
been way bigger. So you know what? It's a very small API. Doesn't need all those resources. So
Mhm.
another way to save money would be to use lower resources.
Yeah. Cool.
So you do that, and you do that for like all the three container, or like depending on like your structure, you do that for all the container,
Mhm.
and that's it. After that, you do again an AZD up, and the beauty of it is because now this is kind of like save. When you do AZD up, this is what will be deployed. So that will be overriding whatever is running in the portal in terms of like settings, not necessarily the content.
Yeah. So it's cool. Like AZD up only does it essentially does a patch. It
Yeah,
just changes what's changed. Or
exactly.
it doesn't like wipe everything out and reinstall it. Just does a minimal change for you.
Yeah. So here we are in the portal, and I have like all my container, and I already deployed, right? Magic of the demo, I already deploy, and I can go there. And I told you could do that also in Azure in the portal. So if I open my container, the way where I could see that is from the left panel. If I go in scale, makes sense, right?
Mhm.
You go in scale and you should see it right away. So minimum replica 0, maximum replica 1. And you could have cooldown, and like you could play a lot. You want some cooldown because you don't want the app to go up and down, up and down, up and down every 30 seconds. Right? But you want it responsive. So like you need a kind of a cooldown and interval and stuff like that. But that's it. That's as easy as it is. So if, for example, you suddenly have a rush and something is wrong, you didn't plan that, it was not in your bicep, something like that, you need to fix it quick. You could go in the portal and change it if you want. So still
Yep.
possible.
Cool.
So that's great. So now we know that we can have control over the memory, the CPU, the numbers of replica and stuff like that. But another thing is, I want to be able to sleep on my 2 years at night without worrying, without doing nightmares. What else can we do? People are worried, and I get
Yeah.
that. Deploying
Yep.
it looks frightening because there's a lot of resources here, but we know it's very budget friendly, but it's still like a long list of resources
You want
here.
peace of
But
mind.
there's few in there that are free anyway. But anyway, so one thing you could do again from so back to the resource group, right? We are in the resource group. I could search budget and click here. And the nice thing is you could have as many budget as you want. And for a resource group is often like you could change the scope if you prefer for like
Uh-huh.
all my database or stuff like that. Often what I like is having it at least one budget for a NAC. So
Okay.
like it makes sense, a kind of a logic group. You could
Yeah.
budget
Yeah.
it many different ways, but I really like having it by resource group because often the resource that are inside the resource group, there's a meaning where it's a resource group. Like I like it that. So to create a budget, you just click that little add, you give it a name, right? Budget, demo. And then it doesn't like spaces, voila. You could specify the period, the creation date, and stuff like that. And you know what? It's a demo, so I want to know if it costs more than $15.
Mhm.
And it gives me already private provision and stuff like that. So like it doesn't need to be 1,000. It can be. I could specify a specific period of reset. So like, is it you know quarter, a yearly? So like depending on like the scope of what you're trying to plan here,
Right.
you could have an idea. So yeah, for me, like $15 a month for a demo, that's a lot of money for a demo, right? So I think that makes sense. And if I go now further, I could decide, oh, I would like to specify things. I could also add email alerts. because yeah, it's nice to have a budget, but I don't want to every morning go check that.
Yeah.
Where I think it's great. You could have a look and see how it's going.
Uh-huh.
You could build dashboard. That's great too. So it's outside of this scope of this this demo here, but you could have a budget and like see the things grow. Having an alert, that's great because
Yeah.
now you set an alert. So okay, you know what? Send me an email when it reach 10.
Yeah.
You can say send me an alert when it reach 5. So like, are we half the month or are we just like 2 days in the month?
Yeah. I
Whatever
could
makes sense for you.
take some action or preemptive action.
Yes. Yeah, well, like, to know, or maybe it's the other way around. Like it's the end of the month and you look and say, oh wow, I just spent like half of the budget.
Mhm.
The point is be comfortable with the resource and the money you spend because it's important, but you still want to have the best experience for your customer. So like fine tuning the allocation of the resource is important. Fine tuning like like and tracking everything. So that's one way to do it. Yeah, that's all I add for you. And then like you just click create. I won't do it right now
Mhm.
because I don't want to enter my email and all those things. But you click create, takes 3 seconds and a half, and it's done. And when you reach that limit, you receive a very well formatted email from the Azure portal.
Cool. Frank, that was awesome. Thank you for taking us through our journey of self-discovery as we walk through and plan out our app and making sure that we don't run over the budget so we don't have to sell our house. And that's
Yeah,
no, it's very important. I made a joke about it, but it is you do want to keep track of it. And hopefully, if you are running up the cost, so it's because your app is doing so great that it's a good
or
thing.
you can save money here and then build something else with it.
Yeah. In the next episode, we'll be talking about monitoring our app,
Yes.
not for costs, but for exceptions and things like that. All right, Frank, we'll see you soon.
See you soon.